British TV series car show about cars, Top Gear destroyed multiple kinds of things. From trucks to buses to vans, ambulances, possibly the most kind of chaotic moment that would ever been happening. But then they decided to do another kind of challenge, one that almost seems impossible to complete. And that challenge was with this thing, a red 1989 Toyota Hilux. But what did the show ever told you that there was something impossible that you cannot even believe? The Toyota Hilux can survive death, really. The first challenge they tried to do is drive the Hilux down the stairs, but that didn't work. They didn't try to do a trial by Bristol. Then they decided to do another challenge. After those two have failed, they decided to do something far more ridiculous. They even parked the Toyota Hilux at the very end of a beach, strap it onto a raft, and see if the Toyota Hilux could survive that. Unfortunately, things were going smooth and comfortable, but then nature suddenly struck. The raft carrying the Toyota Hilux was too old, and the safety harnesses attached to the wheels had snapped and caused the Toyota Hilux to be dropped into the water. And guess what? This is not normal seawater. No, this is salted seawater. No car could possibly survive this, but the Toyota Hilux, yes, it did. And thankfully, the Toyota was not dead. Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond decided to go full on war with this truck. They then have to do more trials, like, of course, driving to the Top Gear shed, which basically is fine because the Toyota Hilux didn't do anything. They then smashed the truck into a tree. Then they decided to do more and more. They then dropped a camper van into the truck. But that didn't stop it either. They even tried to set the vehicle on fire, but it still drove. Then they decided to come up with the next lethal thing. Smash it with one of those wrecking balls. But what would happen if a wrecking ball thumps directly into the car? But the wrecking ball didn't even do anything. It just bumped the Hilux, and thankfully it was still okay. But then the Top Gear guys weren't done yet. They decided to put the Hilux to extreme punishment by strapping the vehicle on top of a building that was about to be demolished. And hopefully this would kill the truck. But here's what the impossible never even explains. In fact, the impossibility became more possible. The Toyota Hilux never actually died. But how is it possible? How is this challenge so impossible to complete if the Toyota Hilux just keeps surviving the worst ways of abuse and punishment? Well, it's simple. Unlike most vehicles that get destroyed in the US and Europe, the Toyota Hilux was built with only two simple parts. One is a reinforced steel ladder frame. A ladder frame so strong that even if the Toyota Hilux tips over or suddenly flips upside down, the Toyota Hilux's frame won't be able to break easily. And then you got the 22R 4-cylinder diesel power plant, a naturally aspirated 145 horsepower diesel vehicle. And in fact, this diesel vehicle was powered through a very specialized material of its engine block. The engine block is actually a cast iron steel block that is so strong that if anything was able to stop the engine from working, then it's possibly true that this Hilux could basically still start up. It has no electronics or fuel injectors at all because this vehicle is actually a naturally aspirated diesel pickup truck. What it became almost impossible to explain is that the Toyota Hilux cannot even really die. Why? Because there is something so special about the Toyota Hilux. The Toyota Hilux can still start up for just about, well, past a lot of decades. Even if this truck was already 35 years old, there's still proof that the Toyota Hilux was indestructible. The story of the Top Gear Toyota Hilux wasn't just legendary, it was famous because challenging the impossible to believe in something that should have not worked at all could possibly lead to a failure. But then when you realize something, the Toyota Hilux of Top Gear was basically the most impossible created possible. When challenging the Toyota Hilux to extreme punishment, it just goes to show the Toyota Hilux cannot be stopped. Not trial by fire, not trial by Bristol, water, falling buildings, and a wrecking ball. The Toyota Hilux is basically the most indestructible vehicle ever produced. And here's what Toyota never even tells you. They were basically proud because they pretty much revealed that their engineering was all about simplicity. And sometimes, simplicity just makes impossible breakdowns to actually happen. In fact, there were no replacements nor aftermarket parts because Top Gear's rules were strict. The only idea that they ever had was rebuild the Toyota Hilux with just basic tools like hammers, wrenches, screwdrivers, and that's about it. Because of the Toyota Hilux being so simple, it was basically the most indestructible car that doesn't even have been killed. And in fact, most people say that the Toyota Hilux can still start even though it was already broken and beaten so many times. This anomaly of the Toyota Hilux just proves that maybe sometimes Toyota just proves you wrong. Their engineering is purely a masterpiece of engineering. The engineering biology of the Toyota Hilux is basically impossible to understand, but once you witness Top Gear destroying this vehicle and it still survived, that's when you realize something. Maybe the impossible is the thing that you need to believe that is possible, and that possibility is that the survival of a Toyota Hilux in the Top Gear series just proves that it cannot even be dead. And that is the story of the Top Gear Toyota Hilux.